Hello everyone, this is CA.Tejeshwini Chiranjeevi. In this video, let's try to understand about this illustration 25 of the chapter Income from Salary CA Inter. Okay, this is one of the trickiest questions, so I thought of doing a video on this. See here. In case of Mr. Hari, who turned 72 years on 28/3/2025, you are informed from that the salary computed for the PY 24/25 is 10,20,000, nothing but for the PY 24/25, that is nothing but AY 25/26, its salary is how much? 10,20,000. This is what the income you're supposed to pay the tax for the income which you have earned in the PY. But you also have arrears of salary which is received, that is rupees 3,45,000. This income, whatever you have received for the work that you have done in PY 24/25, you have got this income of 10,20,000. However, this arrears of salary, that is 3,45,000, whatever you have received, is not for PY 24/25. This is for some other PY, that is PY 2021, 21, 22, 22, PY 10, 11, 11, 12, and 12, 13. For this 3 PY combined, you got so much. This amount total is nothing but 3,45,000. Okay, your salary attributable. Basically, what has happened? See, I'll tell you the background of this question. In this respective PY, you have worked and you got the salary, taxable salary of so much, and you have already paid the tax for PY 1011. For AY is nothing but 1112, right? So you have already paid the tax for the slab rates which is mentioned here. And the slab rate which is mentioned, see, this is for 60 years or more at any time during the PY. This is basically for the senior citizen, and this is for non-senior citizen. Okay. See, if you observe, this fellow is 72 years, and if you go backward, this is for PY 2024. That is nothing but AY 25/26. Now we have to go backward for AY 17, 11 and 12, and you have to understand, okay, which slab rate is applicable, either this or this. Understanding? So you have to make an analysis. Okay, this fellow is now 72 years. Now go backward with the age. In PY 1011, what would be his age for me to consider whether I need to take this slab rate or this slab? So after considering this, okay, this slab rate which is applicable is for other senior citizens. See, 72 years means if you go backward for AY 1112, how many years are you going backward? Let's take for PY 20, 24, 25. If this fellow in this PY 24/25 is 72 years, what would be his age in 2000, PY 2010 in and 11? We have to go backward for almost like 15 years. No? If you go backward for 15 years, 70, 60, and if you go backward, he will be somewhere in his 50s, not 60s. So now what you will do is that you will apply for other resident individual slab rate, and you're going to do the calculation. So you might have ideally considered 7,10,000, and you might have done the slab rate calculation, and based on this you would have paid the tax, and that is closed in PY 1011. But the income which is relating to 1011, you are now receiving it as arrears. Now comes the question, how to treat the tax liability for this arrears. If you observe something carefully, tax rate for PY 1011, 11, 12 and 12, 13 is obviously changed when compared to PY 24/25. So now the tax liability for the income which is earned during that year, where the tax was supposed to be paid in that year, now paying the tax on the current tax rate, which is not fair. So the department is like, okay, don't cry. We'll do one thing. Tax that arrears now in the respective PY. Okay. But we will give something called as a relief under section 89 for you. Okay. We'll give you something called as what? Relief. And what is that relief? That is what we are trying to understand in this question. Section 89. Okay. So now what have they told tax payable for AY 25/26, and they have asked you to calculate the relief. This fellow shifting out of, exercise the option of shifting out of default tax regime. That is, they are speaking about the normal provisions only. Okay, in the questions they have given you 12, 13, 11, 12 and 13, 14 assessment years information. Education cess at 2% and higher education cess was attracted on the income tax for this respective PY. Whenever you are calculating the tax liability, you should not take 4%. When you are calculating this, I will tell you what to calculate. You have to take 3% instead. Okay. Now, let's try to Understand the solution. See, what is your step number one would be forget about the taxability of the arrears. Okay, just consider in your first place what is your current year income and what is that arrears in which that has been received. Suppose if it was received as a current year income only, what is the tax liability that I would have calculated based on the fixed rate, current tax rate? That is for PY 24-25, nothing but AY 25-26. What is that you would have done? You would have calculated and HEC would have paid 4%. This is including arrears. Now assume, suppose my salary was only the PY 24-25 and I had no arrears at all, assuming no arrears at all. My tax payable would have been 1,20,640. See, ideally speaking, if you did not receive any arrears, the difference between this and this is the arrears only, no? Ideally speaking, the tax payable difference that you get from the first this column to this column will be nothing but the tax that you're supposed to pay because of this arrears only. If this difference between these two is arrears, then the difference between these two will be the tax on that arrears, nothing else. So what will be the difference that you will get out of these two? 1,228,280 minus 1,20,640. How much would you get? You would get 1,07,640. Correct. So ideally speaking, you are paying excess of tax of 1,07,640 for the arrears which you got of 3,45,000. Now the department is like, we will give you relief for this certain portion of this amount based on the calculation. Understood the first step? You will do the normal calculation as you already are provided, tax liability calculation, including arrears of salary, no, excluding the arrears of salary. Don't include the arrears, just calculate the tax liability, include the arrears and calculate the tax liability. See, the step number 2 would be, what would be the tax payable? Suppose you did not have arrears in this year, the respective year only, whatever the arrears you had, if you would have paid the tax for the income which you have received in this respective year only, what would be the tax that you would pay and what is the actual tax that you paid for the civil salary which you have received in that year. Now also you are taking two assumptions. One assumption is that I'll do for 1 year, you guys will be able to do for the other years. Okay. Suppose the taxable salary is 7,10,000, okay, including arrears. First, we'll look into including arrears. Suppose I would have received 1,03,000 not in 24-25, I would have received in PY 10-11 only. I would have got 8,13,000 rupees. Correct. And out of this 8,13,000 rupees, if I would have paid the tax based on the this slab rate, which I would have got way back then, how much is the tax that I would have paid? I would have paid 1,08,837. Now, what is the actual tax that I paid? Obviously, I did not receive arrears. The actual tax that I paid is the 78,280. Okay, 78,280 is what I have actually paid. Now, what is the difference between these two is something that is the excess tax that you would have paid if you would have received your income at 10-11 only, not at 24-25 PY. Correct. The difference is nothing but 22,557. This is the extra tax that you would have paid in AY 11-12 only. Suppose if you would have received that income in that year only, not PY 24-25. Okay. Ideally, you would have paid so much, no matter what you would have paid so much. Similarly, for 12-13 and 13-14 also, including arrears, excluding arrears, do the tax calculation, including the arrears, excluding arrears, doing the tax calculation. Whatever the difference that you have got is nothing but supposed to pay what you have paid, supposed to pay in that year what you have paid. Correct. So now whatever the difference that you are getting, that is nothing but 92,185 is the total tax that you would have paid in that respective PY only if you have received the arrears in that respective year of 10-11, 11-12 and 12-13 PY or AY you can take it as. So something which you couldn't escape no matter what. And if you can observe something, this is the amount that now this relevant year you are paying for this tax of 1,07,000 is nothing but the tax on the arrears amount only. This is the tax that you would have paid on that arrears amount if you would have got that amount or received that amount in that year only. That is in that year of 10, 11, 11, 12 and 12, 13 PY. Can I say, now, ideally speaking, this is the amount you would have paid the tax, you couldn't have escaped at any chance. Now, because you received that amount later, now you are ending up paying 1,07,000. So, technically speaking, the relief should be nothing but whatever the amount that you are supposed to pay, wherein you are crying, stating that I don't want to pay this 1,07,640 completely. Department is like, okay, we'll do one thing. Take this amount, which we are telling you to pay now based on the relevant rate. Take this amount, which you would have paid no matter what. Whatever the difference you get between these two, this will be nothing but your relief. That is, you just pay 92,185 as your tax liability payment. Nothing but relief is this amount minus this amount will be your relief. See, you can see 1,07,640 is nothing but the difference between these two. That is what been recorded. I just wrote it as step 3. So your step 4 would be nothing but the total of this. How did you get this? Very simple. In this question, they have added 1,08,000, including arrears on one side and excluding arrears on another side. They just did the total, gave the difference. I wrote it directly here, nothing else. Whatever the difference you got, this is nothing but the relief under section 89. Clear? So now, whatever is the tax liability, including the arrears that you're supposed to pay, now subtract this 15,455 relief under section 89. This is nothing but your tax payable after claiming the relief. When I say this is nothing but whatever you are paying here, excluding the arrears amount, plus whatever the amount you're supposed to pay, that is, you can't miss out the tax. If you include these two amount also, you will get 1,12,000 only. Just your understanding, not required if you did not get much. Understood. I hope you have understood this relief concept.